Welcome back to New York Viewpoint. I'm Ken Rosato. Founded in 2008, Generation Citizen is a nonprofit organization that teaches middle and high school students how they can work on solving problems in their communities. To date, the program has worked with more than 10,000 students. Please join me in welcoming Scott Warren, the Executive Director of Generation Citizen. Good to have you here, Scott.
Thanks for having me.
Tell us about your background. Why did you start Generation Citizen?
So I'm from California, but I grew up all over the world. My dad was in the State Department, and I had the opportunity to witness emerging democracies in places like Kenya, where I was an observer in the 2002 elections. I saw a coup in Ecuador. I talked to opposition members of parliament in Zimbabwe, and was really inspired by these stories of how in emerging democracies, individuals were really motivated to come together to make a difference in their communities and in their countries. When I came back to college in the States, I realized that for a variety of reasons, I think we've sort of lost that spirit here, and that democracy and especially politics has become this dirty word, and we don't want to engage in it. And so I had this idea of, well, what if we ask young people what they care about and give them the knowledge and skills and tools that they need to take action on in their communities, and see if we can really reclaim politics and get young people to solve problems in their communities.
Why do you think, I was having this discussion yesterday with a group of people, why have so many people, and it's not only kids, why have so many people become so apathetic with politics?
I mean, I think the reasons, we could sit here all day and talk about it, but it's a problem. And, you know, actually in the 2009 New York City mayoral election, 4% of eligible 18 to 30-year-olds voted. So it was 4%. The problem is we have this cycle, especially amongst young people. Young people feel that politicians don't care about what they think, and then politicians don't pay attention to young people because they're not voting. So what happens is if you look at the issues of the day, they're all issues that relate to older people because they're voting. So Social Security, Medicare, these are the issues that are talked about, but not college loan rates, not issues affecting young people. So what we really need to do, I think, is in order to save politics, young people actually need to reclaim politics and get more immersed in the process.
What are some of the issues that you think would be impacting younger people here in New York City, for instance?
So what we do as a program is actually go into schools as a regular class and do what we call an action civics program, where we ask young people, what do you care about and what do you want to take action on? And so the issues that they take action in are all really local. There's stuff like gang violence, teen jobs, public transit. Issues, I think when we think about politics, we always think about the national and what's happening in Washington, D.C. But sometimes what matters more is what's happening in our own communities. And so for an example, we had a school in Harlem that realized that there was a bus stop by their school where there was gang violence, where there were muggings, stuff like that. And they thought, well, the cops just don't care about us. That school did a survey throughout their entire school, realized that it was something a lot of people cared about. They had the captain of the local precinct office come in. They presented him with the findings, and he said, you know, we had no idea this was going on. We're going to put an undercover cop at that station, and we're going to set up an official liaison between our station and the school. So that's what we really want to focus on, is those local issues that affect us all on an everyday basis.
All right, question. Wasn't civics at one point taught in school? Wasn't it part of learning? I would bet, and correct me if I'm wrong, teachers, write to me and tell me if I'm wrong. And I mean this. I mean, correct me, because kenneth.c.rosato@abc.com. There you go. Tell me, Ken, you're wrong. Is it that you just have too much in the curriculum and they can't teach it? You know, maybe the boards of ed could tell me, Mr. Rosato, you don't know what you're talking about. Why is civics not taught? I guarantee students today would have no idea whom to contact, how to contact them when it comes to getting a traffic light installed. Why do we care about getting a traffic light installed? Who's a legislator? What do they do? What's an assemblyman? What's a state senator? I know young people around me, they would have no idea. No, they don't know.
You're exactly right. And civics is not part of the curriculum like it used to be. In older generations, people would take 4, 5, 6 semesters of civics. Now we're lucky if it's 1, and it's the most boring class in school. But what happens is that there's been a push towards accountability in our schools, and a lot of it is deserved, but what happens is that we have this push towards math, this push towards science, this push towards these STEM subjects, and civics isn't part of that. We hear all the time about how America's falling behind the rest of the world in math and science. We actually test worse in civics and history than any other subjects out there. So what we need to do is figure out a way to get civics back in the curriculum, but we also need a way to make sure that it's fun. So it's not just here are the 3 branches of government, here's how a bill becomes a law, go take a test. When we think about it at Generation Citizen, we want kids to learn civics by actually engaging in the process and doing civics.
That's the key, and that's why you're here. That's why Scott's here. So you guys, you show the practical application of civics rather than saying, we have a law and here's the book. And I'm sorry to to mock, but you show that by showing the practical application,
right.
you bring it alive. You
right.
let the student realize this is why the bill becomes a law and how it matters
right.
to you.
Exactly, and that's, you know, you learn science by doing science experiments. You learn math by doing math problems. So why do we have this system where you learn civics by, you know, looking at the 3 branches of government and taking a test? We want students to dive in and really take action. Part of that comes from my own experience. When I was at college at Brown, I was really involved in efforts to divest Brown and the city of Providence and the state of Rhode Island from companies doing business in Sudan because of the genocide in Darfur, Sudan. So I was going to the State House and actually helping to pass bills, which was messy. Politics is messy. Democracy is messy.
Supposed to be.
Right,
It's
exactly.
supposed to be
exactly.
messy. And Scott, if we don't get students and the next 1 to 2 generations involved,
right.
The people I was having this conversation with yesterday say,
right.
we are just a generation or 2 away from losing our democracy.
Right.
That was their opinion. It's just too easy to lose.
We had 80 million eligible voters that didn't participate in this last election in 2012. More people didn't vote than voted for President Barack Obama. So we got to fix this. And, you know, I know it's easy to blame the politicians and to say that, you know, politicians don't pay attention to what people think, but I think we as a citizenry have to take responsibility for our own actions and actually re-engage in the process. The only way that we're going to save politics is to re-engage in politics, and we're starting at the grassroots level to try to get civics back in the classroom.
There should be 100,000 more of you. And you are needed in schools all around the country, and it doesn't matter the political side. The idea is to engage in civics and get excited about it. Thank you so much, Scott, for being here.
Thanks for having me.
And it is once again Generation Citizen. Find them on the web, contact them, have them speak at the school. It's great to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
I'm Ken Rosato. Thanks again for joining us.